Welcome to 102. We have a lot to do. We have a lot to discuss, but let's get some basics out of the way. First of all of your videos will be short videos. I will not make a 3-hour lecture video for a lot of reasons. One, it's tough. 3 hours of discussion by yourself looking at a screen is just hard to do. Two, I have 3 kids, so the possibility of them giving me 3 hours of quiet time, not really going to happen. You'll see them if you check out my professor's page. And you guys will get burned out after 3 hours of just listening to me. So I guess point number one in this class in teaching with technology is make it smaller, condense it, bring it down a little bit. So that's what I'm going to try to do. Although my Thursday night classes have to sit through that, we're at least there. We're talking. We're discussing. We're doing stuff. And even then, I judge their burnout rate. And if it's too much, then we stop. So you have to kind of do that. And that's lesson number one in all of this is that you really have to think about your students on the other end and what they're going through. So let's just talk about what's happening, right? So you guys are all online taking a class. I got my master's degree. I'll give you a little bit back myself because it's very relevant to this class and why I teach what I teach. So just let me go some basics about 11 years ago, I got my master's in curriculum technology. I thought that technology was going to be an important aspect of everything that was coming. Soon after that, I went back and I started messing around and I got my degree in online teaching. It's a master's certification in online teaching. So I actually have it's crazy that they have that, but they do. I got my supervisor cert for New Jersey. I just finished my master's certification in district technology. So that's like the hard wires and the how you run the programs and stuff like that. But truly, this is more of my passion, getting to show people all the cool stuff that goes on. So you're going to see some of my own work that I do right here. This link is for a professional development. I'm still building it, but you guys need it a little early, so I threw it in. I'll probably be messing around with it some more even before we talk about it. But it's fun. It's awesome to be able to show people what is out there. And if you asked me 5 years ago if I ever thought I'd be in this spot, I'd say no way. Teaching is a slow transforming process, right? I mean, if you look at the way you learned in school, most of you in first, second, third grade, what have you, sat in rows, right? And you listened to the teacher and used a paper and pencil, right? And I mean, that's the same way that is in 1900, 1850, like that's always been the same way. So all of a sudden, right, here you are, you're taking a class online. From this guy who's an hour drive away, right? And you're not even talking to him, you're watching videos. So this coronavirus, this pandemic has altered education and the speed of light, we had to change everything that we do. So this class really becomes so much more important for you guys in the fact that when you go to get a job, you've had some technology, you've had some experience, you started building your own portfolio of lessons and things like that. And therefore, because I mean, it's happened before, when another pandemic, when another problem hits, when issues go, you are prepared and ready for it. So, I think this class hopefully will be an awesome, example of just why it is important for you never to stop learning. All right. So lesson 2 in this class is never stop learning because, I mean, I went back, like I said, I have my bachelor's and actually I have a bachelor's in history, right? I teach history to high school kids all day, but here I am teaching technology. So my bachelor's, a master's cert, and my supervisor cert, right? I constantly go back to school so that I can be up to date and I can always give the best examples of things that are going on to my students. So that's lesson number 2, never, ever stop learning. All right, so we need to kind of talk. Let's get started with class in this module and what is here. So when you look, and yeah, I'm getting old, so I wear my glasses, right? So when you look, I have a video here about Google Drive that's all established for you guys and ready to go. All right, we're going to talk in a minute Actually, I'll set up another video in a minute on Google Classroom for you so that we're not overwhelming. And then these are the assignments. And again, I will look at those for you separately as well. But this video right now is going to focus on this top section up to Google Drive. So we, not Middlesex, but this group, is going to use Google for pretty much everything. We will talk about Microsoft and Windows, and we'll talk about Office and those kind of things. But I got to be honest with you, New Jersey is one of the states that really pushed Google, and I'm going to tell you why. So a Chromebook, I use a Chromebook. I'm on a Chromebook right now, $250, nice and cheap, right? Very simple. All of the work that we're going to be doing is free, as far as Google Drive, Google Draw, Google Docs, they're all free, right? So schools have been taking advantage of it, and Google has been taking advantage of it as well, because they're creating Classroom. They just came out with Jamboards. They're constantly adding things that go into it. And I got to be honest, it's tough to compete with them when it comes to the educational side. Now, I do like Office, because there are some things. It has a notebook. Notebook is great. You probably use that for some of your other classes. It's great to organize and stuff. So that's why I use a website, because for me, the organization on both of them just isn't where I want them to be. I like the notebook side, but I like the Google app. So I'm kind of in the middle. So I use this. So that's right where we are. So let's just kind of take a look for a minute at number one here. Discuss cloud storage and its importance. So when we're talking about the cloud, right? When we're talking about stuff, why Google is winning most of this, right? So on a Chromebook, there's no moving parts. There's no hard drive. There's a tiny hard drive, right? But it's nothing big. So if I drop this, most likely it's going to bounce back and I'm going to use it again. It's not broken. It's the hard drive isn't destroyed. So they put everything up in this cloud. Now, my father is 70 years old. So when you talk to him about the cloud, he's like, all right, so all my stuff's up in the cloud. Like he's putting up like it's really like floating overhead or anything. But realistically, it's just a server, right, that holds all of this information, and it's online and it gets to us. And the reason that's so important is, as a teacher, as a student, you can grab it from anywhere, all right? I can get on my phone and look at your projects through my drive. All right? I can look at my work on my drive. I can look at, honestly, my daughter is upstairs right now. She's working on schoolwork because her class is quarantined because of COVID, right? One of the kids there had it. So she's quarantined. But I can check her Google Classroom at any time to see what she's supposed to be working on. All right. I don't, because I trust my kids, but you get it. It's this cloud. It sits up there and we can constantly get to it. And that's what makes Google so magically awesome, right? And they don't even charge for it. All right. So as a teacher, when you're a teacher, you don't have to pay for storage. All right. It is free for us. Now, it used to be we could keep everything we wanted in our trash can too, but they changed that. But it's free. All right. So that's a pretty awesome thing. So it stays up in this cloud for us that we can get to at any point in time. You can get on any device. Right. You can get on your MacBook and you can get in your Google Drive. You can get on your Chromebook. You can get on your PC. It is universal to use. So that right there in itself makes Google a great tool to use. Now, on the upside, right, Office is now free for education as well. Office is catching up to that point, right? So they both have their benefits, right? But I'm going to tell you now, most likely, when you go for a job, when you get, Google's going to be that way that school is going, simply because of the cost of the machines is dramatically lower. The programs are free. You will find a lot more Google trainers out there than you will Microsoft, although a lot of us are going back and getting that as well because it's starting to pick up. But just understand we're going to spend a lot of time in Google, and that cloud storage, that spot out there that puts all our stuff is massively important. All right, so now let's look at some of the major tools in Google Apps, right? So I'm going to click on it, and hopefully you're going to look at it as well when we're not in there. All right, so let's just take a look. So this module 1, right? This is an overview kind of what Google looks like. So this is Google Classroom, all right, things that we can do. And again, we will go in depth in all of this, right? All right, so we can assign with one click. Hopefully, some of you have had experience with Google Classroom. If you haven't, we're going to use Google Classroom. So we will be looking at this and you'll see how it works. Two, you get to check and see who's done if they click the little button. A lot of times they don't click the little button. That drives me insane, all right? Three, real-time feedback. Now you can put rubrics in there. All right, so you can automatically give them their rubric, and they say they don't have to go somewhere else. There's also not a cheating tool, I don't want to call it, plagiarism tool now, so that you can turn it on. It will actually check to see if they plagiarized either with a paper that's been turned into you already or online. And then it creates drive folders for assignments, so it's organized in a pretty good way. Now, if you look at my drive is crazy. So I'm not real big on having more in my drive, but it continues to happen. All right. Google Docs. All right. Student collaboration. One of the biggest things, especially about online teaching, is the collaboration aspect that we need to have, right? So I'll give you a quick story, and I use this story a lot because it's a fun story. So when I first got trained in Google, okay, I went and saw one of the Google trainers, went to a class. We first got Chromebooks for my class at school. And I had an AP history class, and they were supposed to be writing essays. So it's Friday night. My wife and I are home. She wants to watch some movie that I wasn't really interested in, but I sat and watched it anyway. Anyway, my computer's sitting next to me. And so I just click on it just to see what's going on. Now, this is before Google Classroom even existed. But I went in and I started checking on people's papers. And I'm like, it's Friday night. Nobody's working on it. Nobody's doing anything. So I get to this one kid, and I'm looking at his paper, and, answer number one, nice paragraph. Number two is blank. Number three is blank. Number four and number five are good paragraphs. So I write a comment next to number one, or number two. Hey, where's your answer to number two? How come you missed it? And right next to mine, space, where are you? The kid was typing back, where are you? And I'm like, I'm on my couch. Where are you? He's like, I'm in my room. This is freaking me out. I'm gone. And he left, right? So we laughed about it later, but it's that idea that you can be right there with your students. You can collaborate. You can talk. They can collaborate. They can talk. All right. So it's an awesome way to not just give them a grade when they're done, but be there to help them so they get the grade that they should and that they learn through the experience. All right. Peer writing. All right. Students can comment on each other's stuff. They can work with each other. You can add images and graphics to a Google Doc, and you can personalize it. You can make it fun. You can put watermarks in the background, all sorts of stuff. So Google Docs is a great way to start using Google. All right. Google Forms. All right, things you can do. Students can collect data. Look at that, I spelled students wrong. I'll fix that later. Can collect data. All right. I know that we use it to collect like senior information, class trip information, all that kind of stuff, right? So we use it to collect data all the time. You can have multiple types of questions, multiple choice, true, false, short answer, time, also paragraphs, all sorts of stuff, right? So it really is kind of nice. And now you can actually even click make it a quiz button, and it locks down their browser. They can't leave it. So that's pretty cool. It's customizable. You'll see that as we work, I'm going to have you guys customize some of these things to be for your class. I have a different form for US 1, US 2, AP. They all have different headers on them because I want it to be customized for them. All the responses are sent to a Google Sheet, so you can see it all in real-time data. And again, you can use it for quizzes, which is kind of cool. Google Slides. This is Google's version of PowerPoint. I'm not going to lie, it is not as strong as PowerPoint. PowerPoint definitely has more oomph for your money, right? Because just the transitions, the pictures, the things that are in it, PowerPoint is definitely stronger. But Google Slides is awesome in its own way. So first of all, you can make presentations, right? We all know what they are. Teachers, I'm sure, use them all the time when you're in school. You can add graphics, student collaboration. You can make a master slide, and the students have to use that slide and work over it, and they can't change it. Or you can just give them a blank one, and they can go. You can give all students the same presentation, and each kid gets a different slide to work on. So it's one big presentation. It's kind of nice to do. So there's lots of collaboration. You can put hyperlinks to the web or other slides. So you can make like choose your own adventure stories and that kind of stuff, like making them interactive. Kind of a nice way to get students involved in the things that are going on. YouTube. Most of you have been on YouTube. Again, my father's 70, and I feel like if he could live in YouTube, he would. He watches every DIY thing out there. So constantly YouTube is a big one. You can make playlists. All right. And that's a big thing, because if you're looking at a specific item, for instance, I'm doing the Monroe Doctrine in my U.S. history, my AP class right now. So I could actually find different videos about the Monroe Doctrine, its importance, how it worked with things, what it led to, and put them in. And then the students just go to that one playlist and watch what they need to watch. So it is definitely nice. You're going to have differentiated videos, right? All of you learn differently. And that's a big thing now, right? Technology makes it so that you can all learn differently, so that we can do things differently. Just the fact that I'm making this video, I'm differentiating this lesson. All right, because Thursday night, I'm going to have students in my class who might want this information again, might need this information again. Guess what? I can send them this video. I just differentiated their lesson. They can go back and watch this 1,000 times. I'm changing it up so that you guys all have a better learning experience. And YouTube is awesome for that. You can add your own creations. When I'm done this, I'll upload it to YouTube. I'm adding my own story to the web. Pretty neat. Google search. All right, you find relevant information. I mean, it's up to date. It's when we're talking about history, when we're talking about education, the last couple of years, I like 4 to 5 years as being my buffer. Guy down the hall from me, he's good with 10 years. I think 10 years is a little, things change so fast. I think that's a little, much for me to be relevant anymore. But then again, it depends on the topic. So if we're talking about the Civil War hasn't changed in, since 1865. So if it's 10 years old, I'm okay with it. But if we're talking more about politics, I want something much more relevant and today. So Google is great for that. There are many advanced search techniques. You can narrow it down. You can reverse image search now. You can do all sorts of stuff. So there's a lot of search techniques. And you can create student quests. You can send them places to find different things. So they're the big 6, right? They're pretty big education ones. Now, let's just drop down for some of these others, because they're pretty huge. All right, Google Draw. I love Google Draw. It's probably one of my, I made all of this with Google Draw, okay? Goofing around, playing around. It's fun, okay? You can do also graphics, shapes, text. You can make Venn diagrams for your students to play on. It's a fun tool. Google Sheets, not so fun. Okay, I'm not a Google Sheets fan. There's formulas and all sorts of stuff that go do. It's great for organizing information, but sometimes it makes my head hurt. But it's a great spreadsheet analysis. And when you're talking about student data, it is the place to go, right? There's other places, Google Analytics and things like that, if we had this class part 2, we would get into, but I'm not going to go that far. Gmail, email students, create contact lists, that kind of stuff. There are other things that we can get into, add-ons and stuff like that really help with emailing students and parents and keeping them all up to date. Calendar, appointments, schedule meets. As soon as I'm done here, actually, I have to schedule a meet with another teacher tomorrow, since I won't be in school. Her and I have to talk about some things that are going on. So I can just set my appointment up with her and we're good to go. All right. Meet, video conferencing. If you come to my Thursday night, that's what we use. All right. Although I do like some of the other programs, Meet just educationally does well for me. It sets it up very nicely. Sites, web page creation. It's free. It's a free web page. All right, you can do all sorts of things with it. We're going to build one as this year goes on. You guys are going to be responsible for building your own teacher webpage with all sorts of projects and stuff that you put in there to show how good you're getting with technology. Groups, Google Groups. I belong to several of them. And basically what they are is people, kind of add information and talk and discuss and basically it's a great way to learn and ask questions on things that you don't know. I'm a Google trainer, so I have my Google trainer group, and we constantly are asking questions and trying to figure things out. And then as a group, we'll email Google and be like, hey, this is something we could do or you should do. And Google listens and changes things, which is kind of neat. Maps and Earth, visual reference. I'm sure some of you have maps on your phone, give you directions, all that stuff. But I'll show you a project later on where we actually made a 3D walking tour of our town. Very interactive and very cool. And bloggers, you make blogs for students and teachers. Get information that you want to put out there, your own personal thought process. All right. I'm just going to move up here for a second. All right, practical use. One of the newer tools is Jamboard. All right, so I am going to ask you guys to get Jamboard because it is awesome. All right, it is a digital whiteboard that we can use to write on, draw on, you name it. It's kind of fun. It kind of, if chalkboards and stuff, that's what this is, right? That's what it is. So when I click on it, all right, it's going to ask you to make a copy, and you're going to say yes. All right, whenever I send you anything and to make a copy, I want you to take care of it and make a copy of it because it is something that we are going to be using. So this is Jamboard, which is really cool. There's pens. I'll go over it a little more in depth later, but really I just want you to text. Use the text box, click, and think about this stuff. Think about some of these things. Before your class starts, your students excitedly talk about a video they saw on YouTube. You're teaching science concepts, begin to think, how can I use YouTube to get my students talking about science? Well, guess what? When you are, and there's 3 of these Jamboards, and I'm not collecting them for a grade. I'm not telling you that I don't want them. I want you to think, because I'm going to tell you. So number 2, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. Google Drawings gives students creative tools using shapes, images, and text. How can you help students improve their language art skills? All right, English. All right. And then next, nutrition is an important part of your health curriculum. You think of some ways that like Google Sites, a unit on eating healthy. All right, so now some of you are saying, I don't teach any of them, so I don't really care. It's not about that. Teaching is about figuring out how to get information to your students. All right, whether you're teaching history or math or science or health, it doesn't matter. Your job is to make it relevant and to get it to your students. So even though I don't teach science, I might have a person next to me teaching, say, hey, I'm trying to make YouTube relevant in science. How might I do that? Well, guess what? You got to brainstorm. You got to work through it. There's going to be portions of this class where I'm going to say to you, you have to create a lesson plan. All right? You have to create the lesson plan. I'm not going to help you. I'm not going to give you ideas. Thinking outside the box makes it a little bit more challenging, but guess what? It's your work. It's your thought process. And that's really what I want out of this, right? I want you guys thinking about this. So jump onto Jamboards, all right? And look at these 3 questions and see what you can't answer. And see if you can't create a way to look at these things, all right? To kind of get your mind going a little bit, see what's going on. All right, now, check out our learning. So I'm going to get rid of this little toolbar here. All right. Again, I'm not doing this for you to get a grade. All right. Some of the stuff we do in here is crazy. I just want you to learn. All right. I love my high school students. What does this count as? Is this a test? Is this good? Just learn, guys. Learn. Half of life is learning. Okay? When you learn to ride a bike, you didn't turn to your parents and go, is this a test grade? No, you learned how to ride a bike because you wanted to learn how to learn. You are a teacher. You're going to be a teacher. You better be a lifelong learner. So start learning. Start enjoying the concept of getting better at what you do. So I want you guys to take some time. Now, I do get the results of this. I do know but I want you to think about it. When selecting a digital tool to integrate in your class, where should you start? What kind of things should you start with? And I'm going to be honest, when we're looking at creating lessons, when we're looking at these are things that you're going to have to do. All right. So I know that not all of you are on the same page. I know not all of you are right where, learning how to teach. You're not on the exact same page. Some of you are a little younger. Some of you are a little older. Some of you are not traditional students. We are going to work through all of that, but you have to start thinking like a teacher. All right. And these are some of the things that you need to think about while you're doing it. All right. So let me jump back to our module real quick. All right. The next thing that you need to do is to look at this video over here on Google Drive and set that up. And then I will be back in a little bit with a video on Google Classroom. All right. It's great to see us. I hope that I actually get to see some of you. And listen, Thursday nights, I am online. You're more than welcome to jump in and join us for the lecture if you want to listen and ask some questions and stuff like that. I will be putting up a link for when you can see me at office hours. That's on Monday night. So be looking out. All right. Have a good one.